Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Satellite Spotlight. I am Molly Pass with Moonship Productions, and today we are joined by...
Hi, I'm Baudin. I'm an independent musician and an actor.
And so, Will, independent musician, tell us a little bit about that. How would you describe your sound and the kind of music that you make?
Yeah, I think I have kind of like a indie pop sound, like a singer-songwriter type vibe. I've been told I kind of sound like electronic too, like a bit like a robotic kind of sound. Yeah.
What kind of music do you find yourself typically listening to?
I'd say definitely like a synthy kind of sound, and I've been told I sound like that too. Also, just I really like drums. Anything with like a drum and a bass is definitely on my playlist.
Yeah, I love that. And from what I understand, you are producing your own music as well. So what kind of instruments do you play? Like, what are you really bringing into these sort of recording sessions, producing sessions?
Yeah, I have this piano here that I recorded into a song recently. I play the ukulele that was in my debut song, Ring, that I have out. And then I want to get started on guitar. I haven't taken any lessons, but it's definitely something I'm interested in. Yeah.
I love that. And sort of adding in like these effects and, you know, the percussive elements is like sort of a part of it on its own, right?
Yeah.
So could you describe maybe your process, I guess? Like, how did you find out that this is something that you wanted to do? And then what is the process like of actually like, I have an idea and I want to turn that into something?
Right. A long time ago, my sister gave me her old 2015 MacBook, and it had GarageBand on it. So I think one day I was just like, let me open this and see what's up. I knew it was for music, but I had no idea what I was going into. So I just started making beats, and that's kind of like how I still start now to this day. So I kind of just like, will go on GarageBand or Logic. I use Logic Pro X now for producing, and I'll start making noises, just any kind of beats together, bass, guitar, and then I'll find lyrics to write to it, and rarely I'll write something and then take it to my studio or computer. I usually will make something and then write to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Do you is there a visual element to that? I mean, you're an actor as well, and like a lover of film and theater and things like that. Do you sort of imagine, you know, like these other people, these other stories? Like, is there sort of like a movie playing in your head when you're writing?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like, I have one single out, it's called Born to Break Things, and I remember the whole song is kind of about a character, kind of, that was like different from me. So like, I remember making the song, and I produced it first, and then I wrote to it. And then I remember I'll just hear noises, and then I'll think of like scenes, and I thought of like a party scene. And then there was, in like the very first lyric, I mentioned like big party, big scene as the first lyric. So that was kind of like something that will help me write, I guess, so.
I love that. And you are writing from your experience as like an American teenager, which I think like some of my favorite albums are people exploring that. Like, I mean, I love like Khalid's American Teen.
Oh, yeah.
Like Lord's Pure Heroine, I feel like is in her own way, like exploring those themes. And so I guess like tell the people about like the era of life that you're in and like kind of what you're dealing with in your daytime while you're not writing music and doing music.
Well, I have a summer job. I'm 17 years old, so I'm making money. I am starting school again soon. Yeah, I mean, work and getting ready for school is a lot what's going on with me right now, I feel like.
Yeah, and you're in your senior year, right? Heading into senior year.
Right,
so do you feel like, you know, maybe a next project could be sort of that? I think that senior year is such a concept in like media and stuff. And so are you already starting to feel that like next inspiration coming?
Yes, for sure. I've seen so many artists use senior year as a concept, and I feel like it's such a huge moment because like high school is only 4 years, but it's like huge, and I feel like you get to the end and you're like so many experiences just happened, and so you like look back on it and there's just a lot to write about. So yeah, I can't wait. I know it's going to be a crazy year. Going back to school usually means more writing because I have more experiences to write about and
just around people.
Yeah,
things
just
are
like
happening.
social situations.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think artists, it's kind of bad, but you kind of have to have like a level of sensitivity to like write something, because a tiny thing will happen to me and I'll just like write like 7 pages about it and it's just like it's all over the place. Yeah, for sure.
But I love that, and I think like that is, I will say, something that I really appreciate about your work. And again, about like this era that you're in, is there is an authenticity, there's a rawness, and some of the songs are like angry and actually angry, you know, like, so what was it like to maybe use, however much of it was real experience, but like, you know, maybe could you speak to that process of being inspired by something that happened to you and maybe the catharsis of putting that out in music? Like, how have you let real feelings and real situations maybe inspire some of the songs that people might find on your EP?
Of course. I think the whole idea with my recent EP that I put out, it's Oblivion by a Teenage Boy. It's basically just kind of revolves around one specific situation, but I think growing up, like, you can think of one thing so many different ways. So I was angry, I was like envious, and then I was like really sad, and then I was like completely fine again. So like it's hard to kind of like solidify an emotion to write about, because by the time I'm like done writing it, I'm like over it, but I want to come back to it and finish it. So yeah, I think I just have to gauge how I feel when I'm writing it, and I just have to get back into that mindset whenever I'm trying to finish it. And usually if I have music to it, music is what moves me the most. So like I have a song called Tattoo Artist on the EP I put out, and I feel like that it makes me really sentimental every time, so it wasn't that difficult to get that emotion through every time, even if I wasn't feeling it before I started the session. So.
Yeah. And do you feel like as an actor it has stretched you to like explore these themes musically?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I've always known that music it moves you whether you like it or not, so it's definitely something to use to like get into character, like have like you're about to do like an angry scene, listen to like an angry song. So like I'll just kind of like think about situations that make me, like, for example, really mad, and then I'll just like pretend like it just happened, I guess, like an actor would do, and you just kind of start writing based on how you feel. So.
Like recalling that information. And like what was that experience like?
Yeah.
And so I think observation is such a powerful tool. Again, like especially, you know, your EP album title, like you also just being like authentically like, you know, I'm a teenage artist, I'm a new emerging independent artist. Like, I think there has to be a level of truth to it for people to connect. And so is there a song that feels like it turned out exactly what you wanted? Like if someone is listening to their first Lil Baudin song of all time, like what feels like it encapsulates like you of your discography so far?
I think about this all the time. Like, I'll have an idea and I'm like, I'm so glad it came out the way it did. There's one song off the EP, it's called I Don't Get It, and it's super, I think it's cool when an artist will use like an original saying. Like, I don't get it, such a common phrase that everyone uses. And so, like, once you put it into a song in a unique way, it becomes like, oh, it's like, I don't know. I just love the whole vibes of that song.
And it really puts a funk on like a common phrase, and I think that's the backing of it, like being so rhythmic but also talking, like I think really the layered elements of it, like you said, it just really, it takes that idea and puts it a little bit deeper. And so is that a situation that was like mostly inspired by stuff, or do you feel like for the most part you were just like making that one up about imaginary people?
I think it was for sure inspired, but it's nice because people will ask me like, oh, like what inspired you to make it, but it's almost like something will put it into action, but I get so wrapped up in making it and making the lyrics right artistically rather than like making it aimed at someone. So like it was inspired by something, but I think I started thinking about like, oh, this beat could happen here, this lyric could happen here, and I can put a burn right there, and I can just
take
like
some mind of its own.
Yeah, and it kind of just like, and then I get to the end and I'm like, I wrote it about that. I don't even remember doing that. 'Cause it just felt like a fun project to do. So I really like that one because it came out the exact way I wanted to. I feel like it's like sassy. I feel like it kind of shows a side of me that like I don't show that many people. So
I love that. And like, you know, we were talking immediately pre-interview about Chapel Roan, and I think there is sort of this idea of like music as a performance art, you know, and how that can be, you know, really powerful and also really affirming for like the individual to show like, you know, this is my drag basically. Like, you know, Chapel Roan being like, this is my performance of being a pop star. And so do you feel like you're stepping into like sort of a persona or like a vibe? Sure. Like I feel like this EP feels a lot more confident than the previous singles. So like, do you feel that like how has that shift shown up for you? Is it just over time it gets easier, or has anything really helped you step into yourself in that way?
I love that question because I feel like growing up it's difficult to find yourself. So music has been like a diary entry for me. It's like you write about your feelings and then you go back and read it and you're like, okay, that's who I am. That's how I deal with it. And so I think with the EP, like I said, there's like a million different ways to look at one situation. Like it was cool to be able to figure out ways that I would deal with something that happened, and so every song has a different perspective. So it's like, it's just like, it's definitely more confident, like you said, than my previous singles. Bridge, and then there's like a really poppy chorus, and then there's like a build up in the pre-chorus, and then there's sentimental, and then it like explodes. It's like, I really, really feel good about that one too. Same with I Don't Get It. I'm like, I like them all, but those two are like
as a
my
filmmaker,
favorites.
There is that sort of like your most recent thing is always your favorite just because you got a little better, and it's your most recent thing.
And it's like the best thing that you have right now.
And then the next thing is the next best thing. You know, it's like, and so I guess, do you have future plans? We talked a little bit about like maybe being inspired by senior year, but do you have sort of next steps or any projects that you're working on right now?
I thought about the same concept of putting out another EP, 4 or 5 songs. That could be a couple months down the road. I might do a couple singles until then, but it's been great. I'll just make a side note, just because it's been great to create these all on my own, because usually I'll have extra help from engineers, but I was able to record, write, and mix and produce everything myself. So save money, do it yourself. So that's been great. So it's definitely easier to work now. So more projects could come sooner, I think. But in the future, I have so many songs that I have on my phone that I've written at this piano here, and just so many voice memos that I want to include. But I also want to leave room for projects that that don't exist yet.
That you don't know about.
That I don't know about yet. So like, I want to have like, I don't know, half and half, because there's some songs I've been so passionate about for so long that I want to put out. So
I love that, and very impressive. I mean, to be a 17-year-old self-producing independent musician, like that's really exciting. Well, where can people keep up with you? Where can they find you and your future endeavors? Where can they find your existing out music and stuff in the future as well?
Yes, of course. I'm Will Baudin on Spotify, Apple Music, all the platforms. My Instagram is Will Baudin, so is my TikTok. And I believe that's it. Just Will Baudin, Baudin. Just gonna clarify the last name.
We'll put it here-ish. Thank you for joining us on the Satellite Spotlight. We are Moontrip Productions, and we'll see you somewhere in the galaxy somewhere soon. Sometime soon?
Yeah.
We'll see you around.
Soft and faint, but that's not the only thing that's been lingering. I'm still here, but far from the mend. You're still in my ear like some scar on the skin. Listening light reflects your eyes. Could have sworn right then you were mine. You were shining, and you know the butterflies, they were flying. Stuck out my finger, but they never stuck the landing. Now all I hear when you're around